Hello friends, I am Dr. Deepak Garg. I am an orthopedic surgeon and today we will discuss about shoulder anatomy and biomechanics, specifically considering about sports medicine. So let's start with the anatomy. So shoulder joint involves the glenohumeral joint and there are the other joints are the acromioclavicular joint, sternoclavicular joint and scapulothoracic joint. These are involved in the weight transmission. So let's start with the shoulder joint. So the main function of the shoulder joint is to balance between the mobility and the stability because uh, it is a very mobile joint, so it is very crucial to maintain the stability of the joint. So the stability of the shoulder joint is maintained mainly by the few structures including the labrum, ligaments and the muscles. So let's talk about the shoulder labrum. So it is a fibrocartilaginous tissue. It increases the depth of the socket by around 50%. And if we measure the supero-inferior, it is around 9 mm. And if we measure the AP, it is around 5 mm. So the labrum increases glenoid surface around 75% to cover the humeral head vertically and 57% horizontally. So it is very important structure to maintain the stability of the shoulder joint. So the other structures that are responsible are the ligaments and the muscles. Let's first talk about the ligaments. So ligaments are the primary static stabilizers of the shoulder. They usually work at the extremes of the motion and there are three main ligaments which are superior glenohumeral ligament, middle glenohumeral ligament and inferior glenohumeral ligament. So the superior glenohumeral ligament is a primary restraint to inferior subluxation at neutral position. Middle is in the middle range and inferior is at more than 45 degree of abduction. So we have these pictures and if we want to visualize the ligament, so this is a superior glenohumeral ligament. This is a middle glenohumeral ligament and this is a inferior glenohumeral ligament. So inferior glenohumeral ligament cover the entire aspect of the inferior part of the joint. It covers the anterior and the posterior part also. So if we look the extent, it is from 2 to 3 o'clock anterior to 8 to 9 o'clock on the posterior side, as we can see from the picture. So it has three bands, anterior band on the anterior side, posterior band on the posterior side and below is a axillary pouch. So the anterior band is thicker and stronger and the posterior band is thinner and weaker. So if we want to talk about the antero-inferior ligament complex, so it is nothing but it is the inferior glenohumeral ligament. It has three parts: anterior band, posterior band and axillary pouch. Along with the antero-inferior portion of the shoulder joint, it provides stability to the shoulder joint in the mid-range of motion, maybe around 45 degrees of shoulder abduction. So let's now talk about the muscles. So the muscles provide the dynamic stability to the shoulder joint. So they are divided into two groups. One is an intrinsic group and another is an extrinsic group. In the intrinsic group, they control the glenohumeral joint movement, whereas the extrinsic group muscle will control the scapulothoracic movements. So in the intrinsic group muscles, the muscles are rotator cuff muscles, that is supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres major and subscapularis. Then deltoid muscles, pectoralis major, teres major, latissimus dorsi and biceps brachii muscle. And in the extrinsic group of muscles are the rhomboids, levator scapulae, trapezius and serratus anterior muscles. So let's look at this picture and let's identify the structures here. So this is a coracohumeral ligament and this muscle below is a teres major muscle and this is a subscapularis muscle. So this is a supraspinatus muscle, this is infraspinatus, this is a posterior aspect and this is a teres minor muscle. So these are the rotator cuff muscles and we have seen coracohumeral ligament and teres major muscles. So let's identify the structures here. Now this is a view and showing all the structures from anterior to posterior. So anteriorly we can see subscapularis, then there is a coracohumeral ligament, then going posteriorly, superiorly there is a supraspinatus and inferiorly there is a infraspinatus and teres minor muscles. So the tendinous insertion of the rotator cuff muscles, articular capsule, coracohumeral ligament, glenohumeral ligament. So all these structures, when they insert to the tuberosity, they will blend into a confluent sheet that we cannot separate easily, and they will insert as a single sheet on the glenohumeral tuberosities. Now, the tendons of supraspinatus and infraspinatus blend 15 mm before insertion. So, when they insert, so 15 mm before insertion, you will not be able to separate them by blunt dissection. So this anatomy we should know when we go for surgeries of repair of the supraspinatus, infraspinatus. We should know that we will see them as a single structure. So this structure is a biceps tendon. So the superiorly supraspinatus and inferiorly subscapularis, the tendons, they join as a sheath that surrounds the biceps tendon at the entrance of the bicipital groove. When the biceps enter the bicipital groove, it is surrounded by the sheath formed by supraspinatus, coracohumeral ligament and subscapularis. So the roof of the sheath is formed by supraspinatus and the floor of the sheath is formed by subscapularis. This is also very important when we do shoulder arthroscopy. We should know these points. And coracohumeral ligament blends with cuff and capsule to form part of biceps sheath. Now, for the update of the knowledge, the histological studies of supraspinatus and infraspinatus have shown that they have 5 layers. Layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starting from superficial going to the deep. And the thickness of the layer 1 is around 1 mm and it contains the neurovascular structures. It contains large arteries and it is oriented obliquely along the long axis of the muscle. Layer 2 is a 3 to 5 mm thick and it contains mainly largely densely packed tendons, so which provide main strength to the muscles, and they will go and insert onto the tuberosities. The orientation of the fiber, they are parallel to each other. And the layer 3 is 3 mm thick and it has small bundles of collagen, and they are 45 degrees to each other. They are interdigitating, so actually they are responsible for this confluence, that they form a single sheet. They will interdigitate with the other fibers of the other muscles. Then layer 4 is 2 mm, approximately 2 mm thick. It consists of loose connective tissue and thick collagen blend. They merge with the coracohumeral ligament. And layer 5 is very difficult to differentiate. It actually represents the shoulder joint capsule. So they are actually a single layer. So if we start from the deep, it is actually a shoulder capsule only. Then will be a coracohumeral ligament. Then will be small fiber bundle. Then will be large fiber bundles, and superficially will be the arteries. So this is just for the understanding how the strength of the muscle is there. Then if we talk about the distance of the insertion from the articular surface. So when we put the scope, we should know the point of insertion of the muscles. So it is around roughly 1.5 to 2.5 centimeters from the insertion from the articular surface. So if you precisely want to look the specific muscle, supraspinatus is around 1.63 centimeters from the articular surface, infraspinatus is 1.64 centimeter, teres minor is 2.07 centimeter, and subscapularis is around 2.43 centimeter from the articular surface. These are the insertion points of these muscles. So these insertion points of the various muscles is called as footprints. So when we talk about the footprints of the muscle, then we are actually talking about their insertion points. So if we talk about the rotator interval, so rotator interval, it is the triangular area in the anterior and superior shoulder where no rotator cuff tendons are present. So if we look at this is a triangular area. Superiorly we can see supraspinatus, inferiorly we can see subscapularis, and at the apex we can see this is a transverse humeral ligament at the level of the biceps, transverse humeral ligament, and on the medial side we can see the coracoid process. And if we look at the contents of the rotator interval, they are the coracohumeral ligament, biceps tendon, and superior glenohumeral ligament. Now, what is a coracoacromial arch? So, if we look at this picture, so coracoacromial arch include the anterior acromion, coracoacromial ligament, and coracoid process. So, this form the coracoacromial arch. Now, if you want to ask what passes beneath this coracoacromial arch, then these are the structures: rotator cuff tendon, subacromial bursa, biceps tendon, and the proximal humerus. These are the structures passes beneath this coracoacromial arch. So this was about the basic anatomy of the shoulder joint, and we must know this anatomy to understand the various sports injury in the shoulder. So this was about today's video. Thank you guys. Thank you.